All right, so we've got a pretty interesting stack of articles here all about soft skills. Or should I say, socio-emotional skills is what everyone seems to be calling them these days.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden everyone's realizing that being, a tech whiz isn't the be all and end all. Like there's more to success than just, coding skills or whatever. But I'm curious, why the sudden hype? What's got everyone so focused on these socio-emotional skills now?
It is interesting how we frame it as this sudden thing. The
Yeah.
research has actually been pointing to the importance of these skills for quite a while now.
Really?
Yeah, it seems like the business world is finally sort of catching up with what researchers have known for quite a few years.
So it's not just about being like Mr. or Miss Nice Guy at the office anymore, right? There's got to be more to it.
Right, and to be honest, I think the term soft skills does a real disservice.
Hmm.
These skills are essential for navigating, I think, all the complexities of today's workplace, right?
Hmm.
It's handling those difficult conversations, building really strong relationships, leading effectively when everything around you is constantly changing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how does the OECD, those the big international organization, how do they define these kind of mysterious socio-emotional skills?
So they define them as these individual characteristics
Hmm.
that we see sort of expressed through our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors.
Okay.
And it's not just about, having like a bubbly personality, right? It's
Yeah.
it's really about understanding your own capabilities,
Hmm.
and knowing how to sort of adapt and react positively to different situations.
Okay, so I'm starting to see why maybe they're not so soft after all. But I'm curious, are these skills, are they something we're just kind of born with, or is this something that we can actually learn and develop over time?
I think that's a key point, is that the OECD really emphasizes that these skills are teachable, and they can be developed,
Okay.
which is encouraging. You're not stuck with whatever you've got.
Yeah.
You can actually grow in these areas,
Hmm.
and the impact of that is measurable.
Right.
You can see it reflected in things like job performance or even personal satisfaction.
Okay, so no pressure, everyone. Just go out there and improve your entire personality.
Right.
No, but seriously, that's really good news. It means that we can all kind of work towards being more adaptable, more resilient, frankly, just better colleagues and better leaders.
Absolutely. And this is where things start to get really interesting, I think, because once you understand, okay, these skills are important, then you start to see their impact on, like real world business outcomes.
Okay, so less theory, more application. I like
Mhm.
it. Give us some concrete examples. How do these skills actually translate into something measurable for organizations? Okay, so less theory, more application. I liked it. Give us some concrete examples. How do these skills actually translate into something measurable for organizations?
Well, one compelling example, I think, is actually coming out of the Canadian government.
Oh.
They've been doing a lot of work around kind of these future skills, right? And they found a direct link between um, leadership empathy
Mm-hmm.
and positive business outcomes.
Yeah. The From Soft to Essential article, I think, mentioned that one too. And it's not just about, being a nice boss, right?
Right.
It's about actually driving results.
Right,
It
right.
seems like leaders who prioritize that empathy, they tend to have teams that are more engaged, they're more innovative, and they're less likely to, jump ship when things get tough.
Yeah, absolutely. It creates a culture where people feel, heard and understood and valued.
Right.
And that translates right into these tangible benefits,
Hmm.
increased productivity, higher retention rates, just a more positive work environment overall.
Yeah, makes sense. Happy employees, happy bottom line. But it's not all about empathy though, right? There's this whole adaptability thing too, and that seems pretty crucial, especially in, today's world where everything's kind of constantly evolving.
Absolutely. And this is where, I think it gets interesting, is that same research out of the Canadian government found that a surprising number of employees felt like their managers really struggled with adaptability. Almost 7 in 10, in fact.
7 in 10. Wow. That's kind of a sobering thought. It's
Yeah.
like you're trying to navigate, this constantly shifting maze,
Hmm.
but the person who's supposed to be your guide keeps running into wall.
Yes. And in today's world, right, being able to adapt to these new technologies, to new market trends, to new ways of working, it's essential for any organization to thrive,
Right.
and for individuals, right? Being adaptable can mean the difference between, landing that dream job or getting left behind.
Okay, so we've established that these skills are important.
Right.
But how do we make sure we've got the right people in the right roles? How can organizations actually measure these qualities that, let's face it, can be kind of intangible?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is where I think, the real game changer comes in, is this ability to measure socio-emotional skills in a way that is scientific, in a way that is objective.
Because you can't just like look at someone's resume and be like, yep, this person's got a high EQ. They're not going to crumble under pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where I think things get really, really interesting, is that there are scientifically validated models out there that can provide these insights into those really essential human capabilities.
Scientific models, huh? Okay, so that sounds intriguing, but also maybe a little intimidating. Like, how do you actually measure something, as complex as empathy or resilience?
Well, that's where these scientifically validated models come in. I mean, they basically provide a framework for understanding and measuring all these different facets of personality and socio-emotional intelligence.
Mm.
And two of the most prominent ones that you'll see, popping up in a lot of this research are Ocean and Hexaco.
Ocean and Hexaco. Okay, yeah, those names ring a bell.
Wow.
Those are the ones that they use in those huge international studies, right?
You got it. Yeah, they're used in major studies like PISA and PIAAC, which actually, if you're interested in learning more about those, you can read more about those in the Science Behind Socio-Emotional Skills article. But yeah, essentially what these models do is they kind of break down these broad concepts like emotional intelligence into more specific traits that can actually be measured.
So it's like Ocean and Hexaco. They're like the scientist's cheat sheet for like decoding human personality.
Exactly. Yeah, they give us this common language and this structured way to assess these skills.
Yeah.
And this is where I think, companies like AD Intelligence, this is where they come in, is they're using these models to actually develop assessments that can give you, data-driven insights into a person's strengths, their growth areas, all of that.
Uh-huh. Okay, so it's not just relying on like gut feeling anymore. We're bringing science into the equation. So tell me a little bit more about AD intelligence because a few of these sources mention them, and it seems like they're doing some pretty cool stuff in this whole space.
Yeah, they are. What's really, I think, fascinating about 80's approach is that it's very much about ethical and reliable measurement. So, they're using these really well-established scientific models, but they're also very aware that each organization is unique, right? So they work really closely with companies to tailor the assessments to really align with their specific culture and values.
So it's not like a one size fits all approach. It's about really understanding like what makes each organization tick and then finding the people who are going to, keep those gears turning smoothly.
Precisely, yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, a fast-paced tech startup, they might prioritize adaptability and risk taking.
Yeah.
Whereas, a company that's really focused on customer service, they might place a much higher value on, empathy and communication skills.
Yeah.
Right. And so AD intelligence can really help them pinpoint, what are those key attributes? Got it. Okay. This is all starting to like really click now.
Yeah.
So for you, the listener, like, here's the bottom line. Socio-emotional skills, they're not just some, fluffy HR trend, right?
Right.
This is vital for your individual success, for, really for the success of any organization out there. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And here's actually a pretty compelling statistic that I pulled from one of the sources that you shared. The science behind socio-emotional skills, they said that 7 out of the top 10 most in-demand skills right now, they're socio-emotional skills.
Wow, 7 out of 10. That's huge. No wonder everyone's like, buzzing about this. It's like these skills are like the secret sauce that companies are like, scrambling to try to find.
Yeah, they're in very high demand. And I think when you really think about it, right, in a world that is increasingly driven by AI and automation, it's these distinctly human skills that really set us apart, right?
Okay.
I mean, machines, they can process data, they can, perform these repetitive tasks, but they can't replicate empathy. They can't replicate creativity, critical thinking.
Yeah, it's like they say technology might change, but people are people.
Exactly.
and understanding, how we interact, how we communicate, how we collaborate. That's more important than ever.
Absolutely.
So as you're kind of navigating your own career path, maybe consider this. What if, investing in your emotional intelligence was just as common as learning the latest software or getting that
Yeah.
technical certification, right? It's not just about, what you know. It's how you use it. It's how you connect with others, and it's how you adapt to this crazy, constantly changing world around us.
Well said.
And I think that's really what these sources are trying to tell us, and it's a message I think worth listening to.